Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Boston Motorsports in Brighton, Massachusetts, we are driving a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon Unlimited 392. This somewhat unassuming but obviously imposing Jeep has a 6.4-liter Hemi V8 that makes 470 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, and has completely transformed this Wrangler brand, to me, into a monster. The monster it always should have been. I'm really thrilled that FCA, Stellantis, Dodge products always seem to go crazier and crazier. And although this doesn't have a supercharged Hellcat engine in it, it doesn't need to. In the previous Jeep generations, if you told me you were going to put nearly 500 horsepower into a Wrangler, I'd tell you you're going to end up with a lot of damaged Jeeps. You're going to have a lot of accidents. But the new platform, this new chassis for the Wrangler over the last few years, has really transformed this into a usable daily driver. They're a lot more confident on the highway, and they don't make you feel like you're about to go off the road at 75 miles an hour. You don't get that death wobble anymore. So to shove this engine into this platform now makes a heck of a lot of sense. What I love about this car is that it's almost a direct response to Ford. Ford comes out with the Bronco. They know that there's going to be a Raptor on the way. So why not throw a V8 into the Rubicon? Now, I don't think I need to explain a Wrangler to you. This is a four-door. Obviously, you can take off all of these roof panels, and the soft top is tucked away back here. You still get your seats in the back, a bit of storage room. They're pretty bare bones, and that's what you like about a Wrangler, because they are very utilitarian. They do the job, but at the same time, they're performance vehicles, just in a different kind of way, because you can pretty much climb anything you need. You've got the Fox shocks, you've got this incredible lift, and these monster tires. There is no obstacle on any normal road that is going to stop you in your Wrangler, and now it can do 0 to 60 in around 4 seconds. So let's get it started up, because you gotta hear this thing. And just like I always say in AMG vehicles with those beautiful V8s, you gotta leave the door open so you can hear the exhaust on a startup sequence. It's a monster. So no longer are you piddling around in your 4xe or your hybrid or your 4-cylinder turbo. No, you have a Hemi V8. I do love this exhaust. You've got 4 tips coming out the back. It's kind of a fun muffler setup, but overall, I just think this thing has the coolest stance. And I'm not a huge Jeep guy. I've never owned one, but I do genuinely appreciate a powerful vehicle that's kind of pushing the boundaries of what a platform should or could be. We've got a proper handbrake. We have all of our gearbox and transfer case controls here, and it does not have any two-wheel drive functionality, probably because having a rear-wheel drive Wrangler with 470 horsepower might not be the smartest idea. So it's always in all-wheel drive mode. We have an 8-speed automatic gearbox. I think that's the right choice. It does a pretty good job of keeping us in line. So let's see what a 6.4-liter Hemi V8 does off the line in a Jeep Wrangler. Oh my God. I mean, the whole chassis twists and shapes like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. This is like the most fun you can have in a vehicle that isn't like a pure sports car. Yes. If you questioned, should they have put this engine in this car, the answer is absolutely yes. I'm gonna do another one of these. That was just absolutely fantastic. A Wrangler has no business being this ridiculous. I'm here for it. It's not a cheap vehicle. I think you're in it for like 80 grand or something. So, relative to, let's say, a G63, it's certainly a bargain. Relative to other Wranglers, you're nearly double the price depending on what kind of spec you're getting. But I'd say maybe this is worth it. Obviously, fuel consumption is probably not in the cards of what you need or want if you're in the market for a Wrangler, just because they're all pigs. Even like the hybrid and 4xe, I don't think you're necessarily sipping fuel in those, despite the fact that, you know, a 4xe, you do have some plug-in hybrid capabilities. But no, you're buying this to be the last of a breed. We do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which is good for holding your gear, but actually this 8-speed automatic is doing a great job of shifting smoothly, selecting the proper gear, and if I ask for it on the pedal, downshifting appropriately to give me the juice. What a feeling. This is incredible. Normally I'm driving sports cars around these roads and I'm thinking, oh, I got to go really slow over the bumps. And in a Wrangler, you just don't care. But the coolest thing now is that when I'm pulling away from these bumps that I'm still slowing down for, I don't know why. I suppose it's probably still a good thing to do, despite the capability of this thing. I get to hear the insane raucous exhaust. This makes me a happy boy. Jeeps are far less terrifying than they used to be. No, they are not track stars. However, you can still get them in and out of a corner with relative ease and comfort compared to Jeeps of the past. A Wrangler of the past was a frightening thing to operate in a corner. These new platforms are a lot more livable day to day. I no longer look at a brand new Jeep cruising on the highway as someone's daily driver as like a bizarrely poor choice, because this isn't that uncomfortable anymore. They do operate as like somewhat normal vehicles. It's not just like for show. When I was in high school, the kids driving like 90s Jeeps, like I don't really know what they were going through. Those vehicles were like kind of difficult to operate. Highway speeds, it still functions properly, except that the steering starts to get a little more cumbersome, I suppose, especially on throttle when you're lifting those front wheels off the ground with all this torque. It's rainy out today. This is good Jeep weather. We're getting that pre-snow December vibe here. It's too easy to just keep hitting the loud pedal. It is incredibly fun to do. You just want to get on throttle to hear it roar. I cannot imagine the dismal fuel economy I'm achieving right now. That's okay. No problem over the bumps that I normally slow down for in all of the supercars. But you are going to want to enter corners with caution and a bit of patience. But you will consistently surprise yourself and your passengers, and probably anyone else on the road, with its acceleration. Did you hear that? That is a raspy upshift. Holy cow. I think I'm in love. I gotta say, like, I love Dodge products. I love FCA because I love like a Challenger Scat Pack. I love those cars. I think they're really fun. I think they have a lot of emotion. I think they drive like cars. They're not really like encumbered by all kinds of computers and electronics and stuff. They feel pretty old school. And this really does feel old school. I actually feel more connected to this as a driver's car than I do in a G63. The steering in a G63 is actually a bit frightening. This actually feels more natural and easy to operate. So huge kudos to Jeep for basically making a poor man's G63, and I shouldn't say poor man's because it's still expensive, but relative to a G63, a poor man's G63, that's better to drive than a G63. And you know, a G63 is a military vehicle that's clad in leather. So sure, maybe I don't get like quilted leather in certain locations in this vehicle, but I still have heated seats. I still have a heated steering wheel. So I have the creature comforts that I would be getting in that machine. And it's insane. It is genuinely insane that I'm comparing this to basically a top tier expensive AMG. One thing I do love about Wranglers in general is just the visibility. You've got so much glass. It's really easy to operate these and not feel like you're going to kill others on the road. And you should be aware because it is wide, it is big. If you hit something in this, it's going to do a lot of damage. You've seen the bumpers. You've seen what this thing looks like. And it's not going to be pretty if you have what would be a normal, relatively slow fender bender with like a Corolla or a Civic. This is going to demolish it. So you do need to be thoughtful when you're driving. Please don't be the texting driver in your Wrangler. And now that it has nearly 500 horsepower, you've got a little added responsibility. There's going to be a lot of people that look at this and just say, like, what's the point? And I kind of feel like a cheesy Disney movie when I say this, but it's for fun. What's the point? The point is fun. It's like the 6-year-old teaching his corporate dad how to have fun in the movie. This is it. There's no point. There is no point to this vehicle other than fun. Braking performance is something to consider in your Wrangler because I believe Car and Driver tested this from 70 to 0 at about 218 feet, where the Bronco is about 175 or 180 feet. That's a pretty big difference. And it means that you should not be tailgating in your Wrangler. It means that you should not be trying to be, the angry driver just because you've got the power. You've got to be thoughtful about how you go about bringing this back to 0. And you've got to be more thoughtful now that you've got all this power shoved under this hood. Let's listen to this thing up the hill. It's a little slick. I don't necessarily trust the front end under wide open throttle, and I don't necessarily need to compete with mass DOT vehicles for an entrance onto this merge. But you know what's really great about this is that I don't need to go fast to enjoy it. The engine alone makes this really enjoyable because of the sounds that emit from the rear end. It's outrageous. It is so much fun. This is so much fun. 65 miles an hour, we're turning about like 1,700 RPM. Pretty low revving, and that's what's nice about this is like Wranglers of the past, I always felt like I needed to like really clock these engines to do road work. The naturally aspirated V6s always felt like you had to rev the heck out of them, and with this vehicle you really don't need to do that. It actually suits the Wrangler well as an around town thing. oddly enough, because it's so smooth, and because it has torque, you don't have to ask for much on throttle. I'm always struck by just how easy these are to drive. I mean, you look at this thing from the outside and it's like a monster truck. It's giant, or at least to me. I mean, I'm a car guy, not a truck guy. So when I look at this, I'm seeing like a lift and big tires and all this stuff. It seems a little intimidating, but somehow they've made these really approachable for like any driver. So if you're a G-Wagon dreamer, maybe you set your sights a little lower on the price list and go with a 392 Rubicon, because I gotta say, like, this is ticking a lot of boxes for me, and I think I'm having more fun driving this than I've ever had in the AMG. It really does have AMG written all over it too, which is wild. Like, the sound this makes is reminding me of like older AMGs with the 6.2 liter. It has such a vibe. It doesn't feel like they just shoehorned this engine in and didn't think about the rest of it. It actually does handle. And I would love to take this for a proper off-road session and be a little destructive in it. I want to jump something. I want to climb something. I want to tear up some dirt. But even if I just have to drive it on the street, I'm pretty happy. Here's my fingers crossed for a V8 Pacifica, because if they can do this with a Jeep, imagine how cool it would be to get a Hemi in that minivan. So thank you so much to Boston Motorsports for tossing me the keys to this 392 Wrangler today. I've wanted to drive one of these for a while, since they were announced, really. I'm glad there's some healthy competition out there to make these automakers just go insane. Insane. This is so unnecessary, yet perfect. It's the best. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. I think I'm blown away by how well it's putting down the power. This all-wheel drive system doing the job, traction control doing the job, transmission doing the job. Everything's working cohesively.